IES. And after that, we'll have business activity statements. In terms of installment activity statement, it says here that it is actually a form for or used by taxpayers who are not GST registered. This is also a form required to be lodged by entities that prepare a quarterly BAS but are required to remit their pay-as-you-go withholding tax on a monthly basis because they are a medium withholder, and a pre-printed document issued by the ATO monthly which summarizes the amounts of PAYGI, PAYG withholding, and ABN withholding. So, meaning for IAS, this covers PAYGI, PAYGW, and ABN withholding. Now, if we are to compare this with BAS or business
Yes,
activity
yung charger
statement,
ko.
uh, definitely BAS is much wider, bigger, because there are more taxes that will fall and will be included in this. Aside from PAYG withholding and PAYG installment, those other federal taxes that we have discussed during Module 1, GST, LCT or luxury car tax, FBTI, fringe benefits tax
Yes,
installment, and
charger ko.
wine equalization tax. But then again,
Nag-steam yung adapter.
we'll get a detailed discussion about this when we get to Module 6.
May charger ako ah. Gagawin sa charger mo.
I think it's mentioned in the earlier part of the presentation that you can only actually submit one or the other, depending. Not necessarily that you are GST registered. You'll only be required to lodge BAS. It mentioned earlier that you can also be asked by ATO to prepare IAS on a monthly basis, then every quarter. So parang if it's July, you'll prepare IAS, August, IAS, then by September quarter, you are to prepare BAS. So something like that. BAS is larger and covers everything in the IAS, and BAS are quarterly while IAS are generally monthly. Now, it's also known that some other businesses, uh, even if or in terms of preparing either of this activity statement, GST registration is what often pushes someone from IAS to a BAS. Ibig sabihin then, if let's say, and if you remember guys, part of the basic bookkeeping is the introduction to GST. So there are three requirements for a business to register for GST, right? So one is if a business turnover is $75,000 or more, and then second is if it's a not for profit organization, it's their turnover is $150,000 or more, and the last one is if it's a taxi or ride sharing business. Now, in any case that you'll not meet any of those, that would mean that you don't need to register for GST. And that would mean as well, if you're not GST registered, you will be required to lodge IES, installment activity statement. But then again, when we get to Module 6, you also get to understand that there are businesses that even if they did not meet any of those three requirements for a business to register for GST, they will still voluntarily register for GST. So, as mentioned, since before they're preparing IES and since they voluntarily registered for GST, they will now lodge business activity statement instead of IES. So I think I mentioned this one earlier. When do entities register for the GST? So those three requirements: $75,000 or more turnover for businesses, $150,000 or more for not for profit, and if it's a taxi or ride sharing business, regardless of their turnover. Now, we also need to understand that there are several ways on how your client can lodge their or report their installment activity statement. One is through ATO portal. So, if you still remember the ATO portal simulator that we had, so that's one. Second is through manual form. Later on, I'll show you the manual form on how it looks like and how you'll fill it in. And the third one is through software, so Zero and other tax softwares. Now, before we further check on the, of course, the last part will be the completion of IES form. We mentioned earlier that IES it consists of PAYG withholding, PAYGI, and ABN withholding. So technically, the reason I ask you guys to make sure you have the same answers for the activity that we had for your payroll activity, because that's actually what we're going to use in generating later on your installment activity statement. So usually it's PAYGW that you'll see for an IAS. Now, I do have here a short, I hope it's short video, just a refresher related to pay as you go withholding.
So what is ClickUp? ClickUp is an all-in-one productivity software where you can manage everything and
Can you guys hear the audio? Okay.
If you run a business in Australia, you may need to make tax payments throughout the year under the pay-as-you-go withholding system. If you're not sure whether your business needs to make these payments or you're curious about how it works, keep watching to find out more. Welcome to Bullseye Money, the channel that helps business owners like you understand finance. And in this video, we're going to talk about the pay-as-you-go withholding tax system for small businesses in Australia. Before we go any further, it's important to understand that pay-as-you-go withholding tax is not the same as pay-as-you-go installment tax. If you find this confusing due to their almost identical names, don't worry, you are far from alone. But let me assure you that pay-as-you-go withholding and pay-as-you-go installments are different tax systems. If you want to find out more about pay-as-you-go installments, or if you want to learn an easy way to tell the two taxes apart, check out our videos on those topics, which we have linked to in the description below. Okay, so let's start learning about pay-as-you-go withholding tax. Pay-as-you-go withholding is a tax system in which business owners make payments throughout the year to the Australian Tax Office on behalf of employees, contractors, and other payees. By making partial payments during the year, there is less likelihood of the payees being lumped with a huge tax bill at the end of the year. If your business makes payments to employees or other workers, under the pay-as-you-go withholding system, you are required to collect tax from their payments and send it to the ATO at certain times throughout the year. So now that you know what pay-as-you-go withholding tax is, how do you know if you need to pay it? Well, the basic rule is that you need to make these tax payments to the ATO if your business pays any of the following: employees, company directors, office holders such as members of parliament, contractors with voluntary agreements for you to withhold tax, or suppliers that do not quote their ABN when they do business with you. Now that you know whether you need to make these payments, you may be wondering how you go about registering for the pay-as-you-go withholding tax system. Well, there are a few different ways to register depending on whether or not you have an Australian business number. If you have an ABN, you can register in one of the following ways: through the ATO's online portal, through a tax agent or BAS agent, or by phoning the ATO. If you do not have an ABN, you can register either through a tax agent or BAS agent, or by phoning the ATO. Now that you know how to register for pay-as-you-go withholding tax, you're probably wondering how much tax you need to withhold. For employees, the amounts to withhold are calculated in accordance with the ATO's published tax tables. Each employee's calculation will take into account factors such as their personal income tax rate, the Medicare levy, any offsets or rebates they're entitled to, any HEX or fee help they need to repay, and their residency status. If you pay your employees through a bookkeeping or payroll system, such as Xero or QuickBooks, the pay-as-you-go withholding amounts will be automatically calculated each time you run your payroll, so there is no need for you to work out how much to withhold for each of your employees. Something to keep in mind, though, is that if you have an employee who has not provided a tax file number declaration, you must withhold tax at the highest marginal rate plus the Medicare levy. Also, where an employee has a variation notice from the ATO, you will need to withhold tax in accordance with that notice. In this case, you may need to manually adjust the amount of tax withheld in your payroll system for that employee. For contractors, if they have an ABN, you may withhold tax based on a voluntary agreement your business has in place with the contractor. And if you have a supplier that has not quoted an ABN, you must withhold tax at the top marginal rate plus the Medicare levy. Now that you know a bit about how much pay-as-you-go withholding tax to collect, let's find out how often you need to pay the tax to the ATO. The frequency at which you need to pay the ATO mostly depends on the size of your business. The best way to find out what size your business is for the purposes of pay-as-you-go withholding tax and when you need to pay the tax is to go to the ATO's website at ato.gov.au and type PAYG withholding into the search box. Click on the first article in the results, then click on the arrow next to.
That is actually how the ATO portal looks like before. So the one that you've last seen in the video. Now, uh, I hope at this time when we say pay as you go withholding, we will get this understanding, or it's more kumbaga level up understanding based on the first time that you've heard about it. So again, it's not only a matter and only based on those taxes withheld from the salaries of their employees. There are different inclusions as well that you will have to withhold taxes considerations. In the Philippines, it's actually equivalent to our withholding tax on wages and at source. So including the suppliers too. Now let's go ahead, and the next thing that we'll check on this time is how to complete an IES or installment activity statement. So if you have opened the link that I've sent you earlier in ATO portal, there's actually a link as well that will direct you to the form itself. But if you can see my screen now, this is actually how it looks like. So if you're going to check further and in detail, you will get to see that there are different W's in the IAS. And if you'll also, hopefully, you remember that during our payroll discussion in Zero software, we make sure that we emphasize in terms of updating the payroll settings, you need to make sure that the ordinary earnings pay item is updated and should show that it is reportable as W1 in activity statement. Now, let's go ahead and check what W1 means. It says here that this is the amount of the total salary, wages, and other payments, while W2 is the amount withheld from payments shown at W1. So let's say in your payroll for W1, that will be the total earnings that you have processed in your payroll register. And for W2, that will be the total withholding taxes that uh, that, that has been withheld from, well, from the payroll register report itself. Now, the next is actually W4 before W3. And for W4, this is the amount withheld where no ABN is quoted. So this is related with suppliers. And take note that there's no amount, I mean, a reference amount in terms of W4, meaning you'll just need to provide the total tax that has been withheld from the suppliers. And if you remember from the video earlier, it mentioned there that if a business will not quote their ABN, they should be taxed at the highest marginal tax rate. If you check your our marginal tax table, that's 45% plus Medicare levy, and that would mean 47%. Again, the W4 is intended only for the amount that you are to withheld. You don't need to provide the gross or the reference amount for the W4, unlike for W1 and 2. So they are directly related, W1 and 2. Okay? For W4, parang wala siyang equivalent ng W1, something like that. It's just specific and intended for the tax. While W3, it says here other amounts withheld, including any amount, excluding, sorry, any amount shown at W2 or W4. Now, we said that for pay as you go withholding, other than taxes withheld from the salaries of the employees, taxes withheld for businesses with no ABN quoted, that's for W4. This also covers those taxes that you withheld from your contractors with mutual agreement. So hindi sila employees pero they're part of your maybe suppliers and other contractors in the company, and they have agreed or maybe they requested that you withheld a certain percentage of tax from the payments that you'll make to them, parang ganyan. And then you'll be the one to, of course, pay it to ATO instead. Although, usually or based on what I have encountered previously with my client before, for PAYGW, regardless if it's IAS or BAS, kasi kasama din siya sa BAS, di ba? If the business is GST registered. Um, what usually is included in there is just W1 and 2. So more on really payroll lang. Wala naman masyadong na-encounter about businesses who doesn't code their EBAN because imagine 47% will be deducted from the payment that you are to make to that certain supplier or contractor. Now, for W5, this is actually will reflect the total amounts withheld. Therefore, it's the total of W2, 4, and 3. Okay. To better appreciate and understand this, I actually have an example here. And maybe you can plot and send in the chat. What should be the amount that should be included in W1? The amount for W2? Is there any amount for W4, W3? And what's the total amount, which will be the W5? With the following details that you can consider. So for the first one, it's actually a contractor, but they did not quoted or they did not provide their ABN. The amount that we are to pay to them is $50,000. Now, the other two are employees. One is full time, the other one is casual. We have the earnings provided in there, and also the tax withheld or the PAYGW. Now, if we go back to our form earlier, again, please provide and plot it accordingly. How much should reflect in W1, W2, W4, 3, and 5 based on these details. Okay. Maybe we can ask someone to provide the amount for W1. We'll ask someone to provide the amount for W2, W4, 3, and 5. And W1, This is the total salary, wages, and other payments. So from these details, how much is the W1? I'm sorry if I'm gonna call someone. Uh, Nikki. So W1 is intended for total salaries and wages and other payments. How much from these details?
3,000 po.
I'm sorry,
3,000 po.
3,000.
Po.
Okay. Okay. So that would mean that it's DP amount for Sally and Tina Marie, 2,500 and 500, right? Okay. Thank you. Now for W2, the W2 means the amount withheld from W1. So how much do you think is the W2, Casey?
It's 0.
Okay. W2 is amount withheld from payments shown at W1. So we mentioned that W1 and W2 are related. So W1 is the total salary, wages, and other payments. And Nikki mentioned that the total for this scenario for W1 is 2,500 and 500. So that's 3,000. So W1 and W2 are related. What is the total amount of tax that has been withheld from W1? Yes. No, let's give Casey a chance. Go ahead.
I'm not sure again,
Uh-huh.
but
Go ahead.
so it should be the same as 3,000.
No. The W1 is parang yung gross amount na naging basis ng calculation of the tax that will show in W2. So if in W1, it's their earnings, the earnings for Sally Paul and Tina Marie, which is 25 and 500, that would mean W2 will be the corresponding total tax for each of those, which is the 450 and 44.
For
So like that. Okay, that's gonna be $494. Tapos tatawagin ko si Cheryl kasi nagtataas siya ng kamay kanina. Tatanungin natin si Cheryl ngayon. What is the amount? Is there any amount that should reflect in either W4 or 3?
0 for W4,
Mm-hmm.
ex- 0 W3.
Okay. Any different answer maybe from we all agree with Cheryl? Going back to W4. Thank you, Nigel. Go ahead.
Ano yun? For W4, it should be 47% of 50,000 since no ABN is quoted, which is 23,500.
Thank you. So, do you have also an answer for W3? Is there, wala na naman tayong malalagay kasi wala na. Meron na silang pinaglagyan lahat. So, yes, that's correct. Thank you so much, Nigel. So, for W4, remember, guys, that it is for the amount. This is actually the tax itself. Amount withheld where no ABN is quoted, and that's why for John Douglas here, it says that it's actually he's actually a contractor, but there's no ABN quoted, so we should withheld the highest marginal tax rate plus Medicare levy from the amount that we are about to pay to him, which is 50,000. And yes, now that also would mean that our total tax uh, in this example, which is the W5, will be 23,994. Okay. Any question? Okay. Now, If we are to complete the, that's actually based on the form, but technically, well, we just need to understand the basic foundation of from the IAS form, but definitely you'll get to process this with either through online services or ATO online services or zero. Now, if we are to complete this in zero, we should consider the following before we generate the report itself. First, we need to complete the account reconciliation, and for sure, you'll encounter payroll. For sure, that will be the main part of your IES. So you need to make sure as well that your payroll is reconciled, complete, and posted. Now, after that, you just need to pull the report that you'll need to go verify and confirm if the amount will tally in your installment activity statement. So the pull through information through zero tax, actually in zero, the account that you're using right now, we call it, or my client used to call it zero blue. They do have another platform which is the zero tax we're in, mainly intended for accounting firms so they can process several income tax returns for different clients, several BAS as well or IES for different clients. But that doesn't mean that you cannot lodge IES using the zero blue. So that's actually what we're gonna check out right now. And maybe with this one, we will ask someone to share their screen. And that's actually the reason why I also wanted to make sure that you all got the same net pay for each of the parents that we have processed previously. So, any volunteer who would like to share their screen, and we'll guide you through on how you'll be able to generate or prepare the installment activity statement for the last activity that we had for module 4 payroll. Mm. So maybe let's maybe request si Ma'am Sheila to if you can log into your zero and make sure that the client available or that we're going to discuss is the one that we processed for payroll last time. And that is the CS Jumpstart payroll. Sheila?
Ito pa
Hindi
natapos
ko pa
eh.
natapos eh.
Okay, so who among you guys have finished it already? Sino ba dati yung si Nigel yata tsaka si Jezrela, tapos ka na din?
Check ko muna.
Okay.
Kasi
I think it's also Nigel who's able to finish it the last time that we had our session. So Nigel, will you be able to? Oh wait, just give me a second. Clarice, were you able to finish the activity last time for payroll home activity?
Let me just, I think so, pero let me check.
Okay, I'll just give you 2 seconds.
Uh, uh, yeah.
So look for your client CS Jumpstart payroll. Thank you, Clarice. Okay, so based on yeah, let you go to payroll. Let's check your pay employees if your parent are all posted. So for the others, make sure you also thank you so much for doing that. Medyo malabo din yung mata ko eh. So make sure you take note, guys, of the total net pay showing on the screen right now. Um, if you've already reconciled again based on the last slide that we've seen, we need to make sure that before you generate the installment activity statement, you should make sure that especially for all the parents that you have processed, it's already posted and reconciled, all accurate. And when you are to generate the installment activity statement, you just need to go to the accounting tab. Either you click reports or meron kasi dyan sa ano, yun, may mga naka-star activity statement. Just large report to 8 sa kaliwa, outside of 0. Thank you. Now, this is actually the settings for activity statements. Will also be the same settings that you'll see when we get to module 6 for BAS. But since we are processing IAS this time, uh, what you'll just need to update on these settings is the one related to IAS, which is the PAYG withholding period. Okay. The rest, keep it as is. And we'll discuss those further when we get to BAS para hindi tayo masyado munang ma-confuse. Again, if you're in this settings already, what you'll just need to update is the PAYG withholding period. Currently, it's none. You just need to update it to monthly and then save continue. There's actually go to activity statement. This may upper. Yeah. Either you can next or close. Yeah. Okay. Now, when you're already here, if you'll notice, meron siya dyang parang calendar. Right now, what's showing is July to September 2024. So, again, if you are to prepare IES or BAS, it's going to be on this same page. Now, you'll just need to make sure that the settings are correct for IES. The only thing that you need to change is the PAYG that you need to have it monthly for BAS. Then we'll move on with that on module 6. But what you can see right now are those dates. So if it's let's say for December, the first one in there, you'll see December 2024, and below that you'll see those taxes that are applicable to that period. So hindi yon kasi sabi natin monthly lang, 'di ba? And we're only talking about installment activity statement, and that would also include only PAYG withholding. Now, with regards to our payroll, yung na-process natin, is it October 2024? Is that the period for it? Tama ba? Hmm. Try to open it in new tab instead para hindi ka nababalik-balik. Thank you, Clau.
October 27, yung last.
Oh, yes. So that would mean, based on those posted pay runs that we had, all the details will be included in July 20, October pala, sorry. Tama ba October? Sorry. Yeah, October. Yeah. So we just need to go to October 2024 and then create statement. And from there, although medyo magkaiba lang ng itsura, but you'll get to see those W's that we have discussed earlier, coming from the IAS form. It's also showing in there. W1 is for the total salaries and other payments. Now, the critical part in here is that if, let's say, hindi mo na-update yung pay items ng ordinary hours dun sa payroll settings mo, that would mean that there's no amount that will show in your W1. So, di ba, ina-update natin si ordinary hours to make sure that it will say yes for reportable as W1 in activity statement. So again, kung hindi nyo in-update, wala kayong amount dyan. But since in this example, it has been updated, then you're seeing $10,501. It should be the same for everyone. Now, W2 is related to W1. So dun sa payroll register nyo actually, you can double check these figures if it's correct. You just need to check your pay runs for W1. That should be the total earnings from pay run 1 and 2. For W2, that should be the total tax withheld from pay run 1 and also pay run 2. Now, if you scroll down below, it will just provide you a summary in there for the total amount that either should be paid. I think this one is your payment amount is the total taxes withheld from the payroll registers. Now, to double check the amounts or the figures in here, you can actually generate the report for payroll, the summary, payroll employee summary report. Make sure you just select the appropriate period covering the pay run that will be included in this installment activity statement, and you should get the same amount as what's currently showing in the W1 and W2. Okay, so for those who haven't completed this activity or their payroll home activity yet, make sure you process those payroll for you also to make sure that when you generate your IAS, everything is aligned. Because once you process the payroll, you can pull out the report payroll employee. Sorry, Claudine. Pay accounting reports and then look for payroll employee summary report, and then the covering period of your IAS. Check the total earnings for W1 and total withholding tax or PAYGW for W2. Yeah. So your earnings, it shows there 10,501. I think I remember the amount for W1, it's 10,501, and for the tax, it's 1,556. Okay? So kung gusto niyo lang, i-validate and i-check. Now, with all those processes that we have covered for payroll, you just need to make sure that whenever you're adding an employee, all the details that will be entered in there are accurate. Because if there will be any information na hindi aligned, definitely the withholding tax will change, and therefore your IAS amount will also change. Okay? Thank you, Claudine. Now, the last thing that I would like to share with you is the ATO portal simulator. Remember, I'll send this link to you guys right now. Okay, so if you go to the ATO portal, the simulator, and then you select small business owner, also on the scenario is scenario number 4. This is the dashboard that you'll see. And if, let's say, your client will ask you to prepare the activity statement using the ATO portal or the online services, you just need to click this prepare. Although in default, it's actually gonna show those details as well for business activity statement. But if it's only pay as you go withholding that will be or is the only one applicable to your client, then this is the only one that you'll have to edit and update. So If you are to check the form as well, it's the same. I mean, the information that you'll see from you've seen from the form from zero is also the same. So you'll have W1, 2, 4, and 3. Okay. Mhm. Okay. So when you're all good and done with the activity statement in the online portal, definitely you will have to ask for your client's approval. I think they may be the one who's going to click lodge in there instead, just to make sure that it's also validated and approved before it gets to ATO. Okay. All righty. So with regards to your next KC, for your KC number 3, it will cover your module for payroll and also IAS, because once you're done with processing the payroll, you can actually generate the activity statement. And since again, we cannot upload documents in forms, you'll be asked on the amount instead. So let's say what's the net pay for Ali on the payroll number 1, something like that. Okay. So any questions, guys? Okay. If you don't have any question, again, you'll receive a notification from me either through email, through chat, another notification as well once your KC is already available for you to complete in. Okay? Okay, dokie. So that's actually it for our today's session. So sa susunod natin magkita, let's check and see. I hope everybody, I'll make sure that your KC will be extended until the end of the week, but I'm not gonna so if there will be a deadline in there, that's gonna be it. No more extensions for KC number 3, okay? Let's just make sure we submit it on time. Kasi sayang naman, isang module na lang kayo tapos na kayo. So, all right. So, thank you guys for your time today. I'll see you on Thursday then. Have a great day, everyone. Bye bye for now.